round two started off at Dover, and to be honest, the race went pretty much how I thought it was gonna. Wasn't a great race by any means, but here we are. First race of round number two was at Dover, and after the amazing Roval race, Dover had a lot to live up to in terms of providing a good race and whatnot. And let me tell you, didn't live up to the expectations that maybe some people had for it being the first race of round number two. But at least the final about 50, 60, 70 laps were something to kind of look at and be happy about. Otherwise, not much happened. So basically, the first 250 laps were clean and green, no real contact. It was Kevin Harvick pulling away. He was the dominant car, obviously, much like he was earlier in the season. So I kind of expected that. I kind of expected Harvick to be a really good car, along with the SHR cars. All of them seemed pretty fast. But I think the biggest story was even before the race even started. Jimmie Johnson came onto pit road. I believe it was a lower ball joint, upper ball joint, something in the suspension went wrong, and the 48 car had to go to the garage before the race even started. This is a guy who's had so much bad luck this season. I mean, Jimmie Johnson's had like that golden horseshoe that he used to have. I mean, it is gone. Like it is gone. It was replaced with a black horseshoe because he's had zero luck this season. In races where it looks like he has a shot to win, something goes wrong. In Dover, this is a place where he's won 11 times. People are like, okay, after he's eliminated, he can go all out for the win. They could take risks. They don't have to, be racing for points or whatever. So now, Jimmy's gonna be going for the win. But he didn't even have a chance. By the time he returned to the race, he was 10 laps down without a shot. I think he finished like 38th or 37th, something like horrible. Like he never even had a shot, and this was a place where I thought he was going to be able to do well. After practice, I think he had like the 10th best lap average, which wasn't too great, but Brad Keselowski's engineer said he had five drivers they said were going to be in the top five. He said the four SHR cars were his top four, and then Jimmie Johnson was in fifth, not that far off. So, and he knew what he was talking about too, because at one point in the race, all four Stewart-Haas cars were 1, 2, 3, 4. But Jimmy never got to show the speed that he may have had. He was going to start 13th, but ended up not even starting the race at all. Otherwise, Kyle Busch started on pole, took off from the lead. Quickly was passed by Kevin Harvick, though, who had the strongest car. Harvick continued to pull away, and he led a majority of the race, and looked like he was going to just smooth sail into his eighth win of the season. I think it would be eighth win of the season. I mean, it was looking like the Kevin Harvick of earlier in the season, where he was untouchable, no one could touch him. Once again, it looked like he was going to be able to win, but his pit crew messed it up again. We'll get to that a little bit later on. Otherwise, cautions came out for the end of the stages. Biggest story, Logano had beat Harvick off of pit road, I think, after the first stage. Harvick quickly got back around. Chase Elliott had a tire violation, so he had to go to the back, and that really kind of hurt his chances at that point during the stages. Another big thing that happened was Alex Bowman, at the end of stage one, desperately fighting Kevin Harvick to try and stay on the lead lap. It actually cut Harvick's lead down because Bowman was holding him up. Bowman ended up falling a lap down, but got the lucky dog, got back on the lead lap, and so he was still in it. And then stage two, the same thing happened with Bowman right on the tail end of the lead lap. He was actually bound with Larson to get ahead of Larson. He did that, but in doing so, he kind of wore his tires out. Harvick got back to Bowman, got by him, put Bowman a lap down, but Harvick could not get by Austin Dillon. Bowman stayed ahead of Larson, and the 88 car once again got the free pass at the end of the stage to move him back on the lead lap. He stayed on the lead lap, and it looked like he was going to get a solid finish. Alex Bowman, obviously a driver that I don't know of many people who had Bowman advancing to the round of 12, the second round. I personally didn't see him even being close, but he's in the round of 12, but he had a tough day, and he just doesn't have the speed to compete to even get into the top 8. I mean, if Bowman gets to the top 8, it's because he's going to win at Talladega. That's the only way I see Alex Bowman getting into the top 8. There is no other way he's going to get in. He doesn't have the speed to win at Kansas. He doesn't have the speed to, win at places like that. That 88 team has just been kind of mediocre this season. They've had their bright spots. Otherwise, they haven't been that great. Kyle Larson was also a very surprising driver in this race. He had the fastest car in all the practices. He had the fastest 5-lap, 10-lap, 15-lap average. It looked like he was going to be, the fastest. It looked like he was going to be the fastest in the race, move quickly through the field, and be a challenge for Kevin Harvick. However, different conditions. It was a little bit warmer. It wasn't overcast like the practices were. Practices were also cooler, so Larson never got to showcase his speed. He ended up riding around outside the top 10 all race. I think he ended up finishing around 12th or 13th. He was really a top 15 car all day. He was like anywhere from like 11th to 15th all day long. Never showcased his speed, so Larson was struggling. He luckily has Kansas coming up, where he was pretty dominant earlier in the season. Probably could have won that race if a few things went his way, but we'll see how Kansas goes for Larson. That's really the place he has. If Talladega, if something goes right where he misses a crash or two, maybe he could have a shot to win there. But otherwise, I think Kansas could be Larson's biggest goal in this round, 1.5 mile where he can run the wall. So it should be exciting to watch him there. Some other chasers, Kyle Busch had a rough day here at Dover. A very, very uncharacteristic Kyle Busch day, which we've seen a lot of lately. I think JGR is just a little bit down. Earlier in the race, JGR, they did not have many good cars. In fact, I think at one point their highest cars were 8th, 9th, and 10th. And that was Kyle Busch, Eric Jones, and Denny Hamlin. And then Daniel Swartz somewhere back in like 19th. But Kyle Busch, he was running top 5 earlier on the race. Looked like it's just going to be another top 5 day for Kyle Busch, where he was going to be able to, finish there, get some points, and, another consistent day. But around the first pit stops, I believe it was, of the day, he had a flat tire. His tire was coming apart, so he had to come down pit road. And his tire coming apart actually got to the track bar. Some fabric got to the track bar. I think it hurt the adjuster somehow to where he couldn't adjust the track bar on the inside of the car, which really hurt his day because everyone else has that track bar adjuster. So if you're the one driver of the 39 that don't have it, you are in trouble because your car's just going to be bad. You can't adjust the car. If it's bad, it's going to be bad, bad, bad throughout the whole run, and it might just get worse over the run. So Kyle Busch quickly faded. He actually faded outside the top 10 at one point. He was back around 11th and 12th. He ended up getting back up inside the top 10 for the end of stage 2, but then stage 3 was pretty bad for Kyle Busch. He rode around about 12th, 13th, 14th that whole stage and only got lucky at the end to finish inside the top 10. It was going to be a very uncharacteristic day at Dover for Kyle Busch. That's one of his best racetracks as of late, and he just he didn't perform like I thought he was going to. Martin Truex Jr., same there. I mean, he didn't really show the speed I thought he was going to either. Quickly fell back at the beginning of the race, came back up. He was top 5 at some points, but otherwise, I didn't think he was a top 5 car at all today, and just got unlucky there at the end, getting involved in the crash. Otherwise, Harvick had a fast car. Eric Almirola had another fast car. Boyer had an extremely fast car. He's probably second in line to Kevin Harvick if something would have happened to Harvick. Kurt Busch also had a fast car. The Fords really brought their stuff. All 7 of the Fords, the main Fords, brought their stuff here at Dover. The 4 SHR cars and the 3 Penske cars. And then you kind of had Chase in there along with Hamlin and Truex and maybe Kyle Busch at some points during the race. But that was basically the first 350, 330 laps, and things started to get interesting around the 70 lap to go mark, which is when some green flag pit stops are starting to take place. Kevin Harvick about 4 seconds ahead in the lead. Routine pit stop, gets away, but a big issue to the valve stem on the car, breaks, and it makes the tire go flat. He has to come back into the pits, and that costs him a ton of time. He ends up losing the lead and a lap due to this, and it looked like all hope was lost for Kevin Harvick at this point. It looked like he was done for the race. He was not going to be able to come back from that. It was just a really freak accident. Kevin Harvick has had so much bad luck on pit road. If it's, pit crew issues or just some of this freak accident issues, this was an issue with a valve stem, which has happened to a lot of people. Most of the times it happens when you're getting lug nuts off the car and the lug nuts fly back into the wheel and it kind of hurts the valve stem with the lug nut in that. However, from what I saw was that the jackman let the car down, Harvick started rolling, and while that was happening, I think someone was trying to hit the lug nuts, so it kind of like did something with the valve stem. I think that's what Steve Letarte said on NBC, and that was just a very unfortunate break for Kevin Harvick. In these same pit cycles, Martin Truex Jr., I think it was the same pits, or no, I think that was later. But Kyle Busch also had some issues. I believe he was speeding on pit road in these same cycles, so he also fell a lap down. So it was Kevin Harvick and Kyle Busch, 1 lap down. They would have needed a caution, and by the looks of what the race was doing, there were not going to be any cautions. However, they get a lucky break. Debris on the backstretch. There was some rubber. I don't know if it should have been a caution or not. I guess, I don't know. But so the caution comes out. There probably should have been a caution for the axle that came out of the 15 car. Ross Chastain lost an axle, went up and hit Joey Logano's car, went up in the air, almost hit Blaney, rolled off the racetrack, but caused some severe damage to Logano's car. They had to tape up the whole right side of that car. He couldn't even see the number. They had to tape up so much, but that definitely hurt Logano's day. But he ended up with a solid finish, I believe, at the end. So that happens. They come back down pit road for more pit stops. Martin Truex Jr. speeds on pit road, so he goes to the back of the field, and it sets up a restart. Eric Almirola out in front. Brad Keselowski actually took 2 tires on that pit stop, so he was actually leading the race, but quickly Eric Almirola got him by, and it looked like it was going to be Almirola's race. They're ticking down the laps, 40 to go, 30 to go, and the gap's around 1.5 seconds. It kind of falters, it's up to like 1.7 down to 1.2 depending on lap traffic. But otherwise, Almirola keeping a consistent gap. It looks like he was going to be able to just cruise to his first win since 2014 in the Cup Series. However, Kurt Busch started eating into that lead, and with the help of Ryan Newman, Kurt Busch was right there, down to under a second. It keeps going down, and the Almirola is in thick lap traffic. He has about 5, 6, 7 cars in front of him. He's all racing around. Kurt Busch has the gap down to about half a second, and Clint Bowyer has an issue to his car. He was one of the best cars, a top 3 car all day long. A flat tire, he comes down pit road. It ended up being a loose wheel, I think it was. They kept the wheels back on. He goes away. A few laps later, he blows a tire in the middle of 3 and 4, and it brings out the caution flag as Eric Almirola and Kurt Busch are going to be bound for the lead. This is with about 9, 8 laps to go, so it's going to be a very, very late restart. It's going to be with under 5 to go. I mean, they had to get Clint Bowyer off the racetrack, and then they had to clean up the wreckage. However, a call that I don't think I would have agreed with at all, Eric Almirola and Kurt Busch come down the pit lane under the caution flag to get fresh tires. Now that is big in how this outcome of the race occurs. Chase Elliott stayed on the racetrack, along with, I believe, Martin Truex Jr. stayed out. Brad Keselowski stayed out, and I believe a 4th driver stayed out on the racetrack. Or maybe it was just those 3, and I think, it was those 3. Then Hamlin in 4th took 2 tires, along with Alex Bowman in 5th. Eric Almirola came out in the 6th position with 4 tires, but he only had a 4-lap restart to get it done. He had to pass 5 cars in 4 laps at a track where track position is very, very, very crucial. So on the restart, 4 to go. Chase Elliott gets away, clears Brad Keselowski to turn 1. Keselowski kind of goes wide as Hamlin gets on around. Eric Almirola is coming hard on the outside, trying to make up all the ground he can, trying to get to the top 2 to try and just have a shot at the win. But he tries too hard. His car gets a little tight, gets into the outside wall of turn 2, comes down, gets into Brad Keselowski. They get back up into the outside wall. Keselowski comes down, gets into Martin Truex Jr., and then Keselowski spinning around the middle of the field. Alex Bowman has nowhere to go, right into Brad Keselowski, and up had Truex trying to control his car, gets into Blaney, who gets into the outside wall. So 5 drivers involved in that crash, all 5 of which were playoff drivers, which had big, big implications. Brad Keselowski, obviously, he was going to be finishing inside the top 5 if those last few yellows didn't come out. Keselowski ends up, further back in the pack, and he's only about 20 points above the cut line, maybe a little less. And going to Talladega, that is nowhere near safe. You get involved in the big crash, and some others don't that are below the cutoff, you are right in the thick of it then going into Kansas. Martin Truex Jr. has a good, comfortable gap. I believe he's almost 40 points ahead. I don't see any trouble for him advancing into the next round, even with Talladega coming up. I think he's just too good at Kansas to not, be a almost lock into the next round. Alex Bowman, really tough for him after, battling to get back on the lead at the end of those stages twice, and then you're running and you have the perfect strategy. It looks like you're going to finish inside the top 10. At worst, you're going to finish around 7th or 8th. At best, you could get a top 5, and then you're running along, minding your own business, and you get involved in the crash. That's obviously a tough break for Bowman. That's racing, but it's a tough break. So he's like 30-some points below the cutoff, and I think that's why I say he has to win Talladega. If he's going to advance, he needs to win Talladega. If he wins Talladega, he's into the next round. That's the only good thing for Alex Bowman and his fans. Other drivers involved, Eric Almirola, that's such a heartbreak for him. He was at a point with 8 laps to go where he was on his way to advancing to the round of 8 with his win, and now he's wrecked and coming down pit road trying to repair that damage. And then Ryan Blaney, he kind of just got a little damage from that, but he's near the cutoff as well, so that was kind of big for him. So then this sets up another restart. Chase Elliott leading, Denny Hamlin in 2nd. Chase chooses the outside. Chase is going to have Eric Jones behind him. Joey Logano's going to be on the inside. At the green flag, Chase gets a good restart. However, Hamlin stays right with him, but Jones gives a push of the lifetime to Chase Elliott, gets him out ahead of Hamlin, who clears through 1 and 2. So Chase Elliott is now in the race lead. Coming to the white flag, this is the overtime. Chase gets to the white flag, ends up holding off Denny Hamlin to get his second career win, his second for Hendrick Motorsports this season, and the third win for Chevy this season. Their first at a track that's not a plate track or a road course, so the first oval non-restrictor plate win. So Chase Elliott, this kind of the Chase Elliott that we haven't seen. He's normally the one where late race restarts, you write him off because he's going to wheel spin, something happens. But he nailed 2 perfect restarts. The last 2 restarts he nailed perfectly. And he did it, but also his crew did it. If they kept him on the racetrack, they had faith in him, but then he had to go out there and make those final 2 restarts. If he didn't, someone could have passed him. But Chase Elliott stealing a win on a day where he had maybe a 5th to 7th place car. So Chase Elliott is through to the round of 8. He will be one of those 8 competing for a championship. And he has Martinsville coming up where he's been very good at. And with Chevy kind of picking up this season, he could be a factor to win there. Texas, he could probably get a top 10 there if all goes well. And then Phoenix, we'll just have to see how that goes. I believe he finished around 3rd earlier in the season, 3rd or 4th. So Chase Elliott could possibly point his way into the next round. He has 5 more playoff points with this win at Dover. I believe that moves us still up to around 13, 12 or 13, something around that. But his second career win, it was just, half a season ago where we were talking about Chase Elliott, how he was choking all these wins away. He now has 2. That's 2 in a row for the Young Guns. Ryan Blaney, obviously, with his wacky win at the Roval, where he came out of nowhere. Chase Elliott comes out of nowhere to win at Dover. Into the next round, got to be feeling comfortable going to Talladega and going to Kansas. He knows he can just rest easy for these next 2 weeks, while some others cannot. Alex Bowman needs to win Talladega in my mind. Eric Almirola is pretty far below. Same with Kyle Larson. Larson's pretty far below. He just had a mediocre race, all around. I don't remember who the last one is below. I'm trying to think who's in this race and who had a bad day. But I think Kyle Busch actually rebounded to get a top 10 out of this day. Kevin Harvick almost got a top 5 at the end. I think Kurt Busch was top 5 at the end. And some non-playoff drivers actually showed their hand inside the top 10 at the end. Eric Jones, Denny Hamlin. Hamlin ended up 2nd, Jones 4th. They were both eliminated. Both eliminated last round. Here they are inside the top 5 here at Dover. Austin Dillon got eliminated last round. He ends up 7th here today. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. was in, I believe, 9th or 10th, and then Daniel Suarez ended up inside the top 10 as well. So there were a good amount of non-playoff drivers that ended up getting up there at the end due to that crash, but obviously they put themselves in the position there at the end to get themselves up there. But, this is one of the most unpredictable playoffs I think I've ever seen. Maybe besides like 2015. 2016 was also kind of unpredictable, but 2015 maybe as well. It just feels like some crazy stuff's happening. Las Vegas, we had everything happen there. Richmond was kind of, tame. And then the Roval, you had everything happen there, and the 3-way tie, and just about everything had to line up perfectly for that to happen. And then here at Dover, it looked like Harvick was going to go on, dominate, and win his 8th of the season. His issue on pit road puts Almirola in the position, and then the yellow comes out with him, and then he has to come down pit road. Then he wrecks with some other chasers, and then Chase Elliott out of nowhere wins the race. I mean, it was a pretty unpredictable ending for sure on a race where, 200 laps into the race, it was like, all right, this is kind of stale already. This is, pretty bad. With that being said, this race was something special. So I would say this was probably the most average race you could possibly have, where not much was happening early on. In fact, Harvick had like an 11-second lead at one point. He definitely had a really good car. Although as the race went on, I think the other drivers kind of caught up to him. But still, Harvick was the best car by a country mile. But there at the end, the ending definitely did kind of make it a little bit better. But I don't think I would rate this race any better than a 5 or 6 out of 10. I mean, a 6 is really, really pushing it. A 5 is about where I'd say it would be. I think it was definitely better than the one earlier in the season, but I don't think it was any better than, some of these other races like Fontana or the first Pocono race. It was just average. There's not really much that happened in the first 350 laps. The final 50 laps obviously made up for some of it, but didn't make up for all of it. It was just a very mediocre race all around, I think you can say. But, yeah, that was basically Dover. We have Talladega next. That's going to be exciting. It's a wild card. Anyone can win, so Alex Bowman will have a shot. Jimmy Johnson could try and win one to salvage his season. The big one lurks around every corner, so we'll see how that goes. We'll see if it even happens. I mean, sometimes they've kind of hyped up some of the stuff happening, like Richmond. They hyped up, short track in the chase, and then nothing happens. So they could be hyping up the big one happening and so many playoff drivers having issues. But for all we know, they could go 188 laps without a wreck. So we'll just see how it goes. Congratulations to Chase Elliott, Team Hendrick, and Chevrolet. Third win for Chevy this season, as mentioned. Second for Hendrick Motorsports. So we'll just see how the rest of this championship battle goes. Talladega will either be really exciting, or they could just stay single file for the whole race. Who knows? So I thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys for the next video.